backwards, of course, like any designer. But, well, first of all, I was conscious of the 1940s, the play being written then and what they admired in that period. You know, there's a whole, I call it Hollywood Regency, but it's a whole style of interior decoration that we're very familiar with. Mostly our parents had it. It's a lot of mahogany and sort of Duncan Fife imitations. And I realized I had to discount all of that because we don't have that today, except at the Bombay Company, sort of. I started looking through, looking at the world we live in and thinking about how much money Catherine Sloper has, and tried to think of what we think now looks rich, rather than going back and looking at pictures of, was the play done in the 40s?
Originally, yeah.
The Wendy Hiller was the 40s.
1947.
40s, or looking at the original period even at first, but to actually look at what we think of as looking rich now. And I took that, and then of course I wandered like a crazy person through Washington Square looking in people's windows. 50s, the 1850s is the last moment when you did have to live in the dark still. Right after that, we get into the 60s, you start getting oil lamps coming in, and everything changes, and then you get multiple times. And it was fascinating doing the research, finding out how excited people were about birth of light, and how and the reflections in the mirrors. The reason a lot of mirrors were there were to reflect the light, and you see that in the play, and that becomes a very important element when the light passes the mirror was part of these people's lives, but it is of this period. I always get sad in the last scene when he comes in the sunset. I think, you know, it's really very sad what's happening in the play, but also this is a period in time that's frozen here, you know. It's fascinating with people who say they don't know anything about anything, but we've been exposed to so many movies that actually are fairly well researched. The movie version of the Heiress is quite well researched, actually. And people who say they don't know anything about it, it doesn't matter. It does matter a lot of times because people feel what's right and wrong because we've been exposed to a lot of things, and we know a lot. As a designer, I have to believe that we know a lot more things visually than we are aware of ourselves knowing. That's why people can look at something and say, I don't know what's wrong, but something's wrong. And there are a lot of things that we collectively recognize.